Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you've got a bit lost. Welcome everyone, I'm Chatty, this is my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about the Middlegrade Madness challenge. This is episode 2 of me kind of doing a quarterly vlog catching you up on where I am with the challenge, and I've got quite a lot to catch you up on. So I'm going to be going through the books I have now completed and where I am in the challenge, and then doing 4 more prompts. So I'll be choosing them together with you and choosing 4 new books to be reading. So the Middlegrade Madness challenge, if you are not aware of what this is, I do have an announcement video. I have one that is both visual and audio, and one that is just audio. So I'll put both their links in the description box. If you also want to watch episode 1 and be up to date, then I will put that in the description box as well, so you can go and have a look. But essentially, Middlegrade Madness Challenge is trying to read as many books from the Middlegrade Reader's Choice Award, which is replacing the Goodreads Choice Awards, which got rid of the middle grade category. So over the last 3 years, 23, 24 and 25, we have voted on the most popular middle grade books to choose our favourite ones, and all the nominees in the lists are eligible for part of the Middlegrade Madness Challenge. We basically just want to read these recent books that have been really popular. So it's giving us an opportunity to try and read as many of these books as possible. What I'm covering in my vlogs with my journeys is me doing the maps and prompts. So I am doing the Pyramid Peril, which is 12 prompts, and the Traveller's Trail, which is 5. So I'm trying to cover 17 books in total within the year. My goal is to just not focus on trying to get a balance of different books, and I'm just going to be guided purely by the prompts for this episode. That's the plan. So first of all, I have finished Return to Neverland by Abby Elphinstone, which I was reading for the Rotten Ropes prompt.
Sorry, Saving Neverland is the book title.
And I can say that I definitely appreciated what Abby Elphinstone was doing with that book. I thought her exploration of the strength that Martha needed, the difficulties and extra kind of burdens she was taking on as a child, which were more adult burdens, all of that was dealt with. Her enjoying the magic and being able to kind of like find her freedom throughout that and kind of drop her adult cares was beautifully explored. They definitely dealt with the kind of arrogant side of Peter Pan that I don't enjoy. I thought that was well done. There is also kind of a sense of like loss and loneliness kind of within that as well. There's definitely a kind of fear from Peter Pan of this constant being left behind. I think I do just struggle a bit with the Peter Pan character in the story. So I still, even though I think Abby Elphinstone did a brilliant job with it, for my personal taste, I just couldn't quite connect to it like I have done with other Abby Elphinstone books. But I think if you don't have the hang-ups I have with the Peter Pan classic story, I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And I can completely understand why people have enjoyed this book. But I think for me, I just couldn't quite get over that difficulty of Peter Pan.
2 books down, Saving Neverland by Abby Elphinstone.
The third book I read for this challenge was A Box Full of Murders. This is for the Manu block. And it's got the O for box and the O for art, so a book with 2 O's in the title. This is by Janice Hallett, and it is a middle grade mystery, and it was on the shortlist for the 2025 Middle Grade Reader's Choice Awards. So I borrowed this from my mum Nata, who picked it up in the shop, and I really enjoyed the first bit that I read, so I was very excited to get to it. One of my most favourite pages is the list of the 1982 camp. So you've got all the kids and all the different tents they're in and a map of the camp. I was constantly kind of flicking back to this to refer, to double check who people were. I always love a character list. It's very helpful. As a fantasy reader, I always find this incredibly helpful, keeping track of everyone and consolidating and reminding myself of who everyone is if I've got a little bit of a break in between reading. So I love all of that stuff. I know Janice Hallett is really well known for her kind of multimedia take. I've never read any of her books before, But having finished this and really enjoying it, I am keen to pick up one of her adult ones as well and see how I enjoyed those. This was a lot of fun. I do understand some people who have found it a little bit long, but I found it really enjoyable. I was very hooked. I was hooked in. I cared about our two protagonists from the present day who discover this box, and inside this box is this unsolved mystery. So they've got all the case notes for this, including various different diaries for the camp, because all the campers were told to keep a diary, and from all of those you kind of get a story and a sense of all the different characters from the 1980s camp. And I grew very fond of all the characters from the 1980s camps. There was one very conscientious boy called Ricky who you meet quite early on. He takes it very seriously, and he was quite endearing. There is a girl called Josie who really enjoys climbing trees and kind of being with nature, and she's got a very interesting kind of tent. They're all very, very different characters in there, and I found the kind of the mixture of them and hearing their different thoughts whilst they were sharing the diary around was quite funny. You've got a tent of girls called the Bruford Badgers, which I thought was after the animal. No, it's because they like collecting badges, and they are so determined to get as many as possible, and to the point of being really annoying to, I think, some of the scout and guide leaders in here. And it's quite funny. Quite a lot of the names were like, of their chosen tent names were like plays on 80s bands, which they did explain, which I was pleased about, because there were certain things I recognised, but not all of them. But having some things that you do know as a child of the 90s and 80s, you definitely felt slightly aged in this book with certain things. It's like, oh, it's now historical relics. Excellent. That did make me laugh. But yeah, the whole story, like, you're finding, I really enjoyed kind of having Ava and Luke, the present day characters, as kind of like a narration on this and their theories and kind of their excitement with it, and you would kind of feel a bit frustrated with them when they couldn't read anymore. So there was a very good kind of plot device of why they couldn't just read everything, having the two separated, having Luke having to like screenshot and send his sister all the documents as he got them out of the box, and him only of being able to steal a few bits of paper at a time, I think worked very well. And I think there was a really good mix of children having adventures with that kind of need for a responsible adult to be taking control of the situation. I thought that was a great balance. I really enjoyed the ending because I really wanted to know what was the connection between this box being in their attic and the people of the camp. I wanted to know what their connection was, so that definitely encouraged me to keep reading. And there were a few loose ends that needed to be tied up, but I definitely want to know a little bit more, like, what happened to these 1980s kids when the camp finished? Like, where did they go? How are they now? Will we meet them again? We don't know. So there is book 2 coming out. I'm very excited to read it because I had a lot of fun with this one. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. And I definitely want to know more about our 1980s characters and what they're like now as adults in the present day. If we will get that knowledge, I don't know. And what the connection is in all of this. It was really fascinating. So yeah, I was definitely hooked on this. I enjoyed it. I can understand it possibly being a little long, but it didn't really affect me that much. I found it really enjoyable. So if you are a fan of mysteries, I definitely recommend giving this one a go. I'm going to see if I can get my Mad Much Hare to read it. He doesn't usually go for mysteries, he's more of a fantasy lover, but I just think this is a brilliant book, so I'd be very keen to see. And there is something, like, did I put it in? Yes, I've still kept it in here. So I'm just very quickly going to flash this up. So at one point they had this thing where they had to work out what things looked like on a digital calculator. And again, like I said, child of the 90s, writing words on a digital calculator was a lot of fun. So I remember like what it looked like, and I nearly got it right, but I hadn't quite remembered exactly what one of the numbers represented as a word looked like. But I had a lot of fun trying to work it out myself before they gave you the answer. So I'm keen to know if my Mad Matter will do the same. But I need to give it back to Nata so she can read it. But I'm sure she won't mind waiting a while if someone else needs to borrow it first.
Book 3 completed. For Benny Block, I have read A Box Full of Murder.
So let's choose our first prompt for this episode. So the last one was Labyrinth Lair. So I can either go straight on and then kind of into the top section of the pyramid, and I could do halt hieroglyphics, where the author needs to be a different country from the last book I read, or I can go to the portal and I could go through that to a different point on the map completely, or I could portal to the Traveller's Trail, or I can do Coiled Cobra. And I definitely want to do Coiled Cobra because this is the random prompt, and I am going to do a pet pick with this one. I have got 3 very excited guinea pigs. If you've been following my channel, guinea pig update, we sadly did lose our lovely Nacho, the white guinea pig, over the Easter holidays. It was very sudden. We said goodbye to him, and poor Grover needed some new companions. So we had lots of cuddles with Grover, and then we have found him 2 new companions. So we have Apricot and we have Cookie, both young girl guinea pigs, and so all 3 are going to help me choose my next book. So these are going to be the options I have for them to choose from.
First up is Vanya and the Wild Hunt by Sangu Mandana. This is from the 2025 list, and it made it onto the consideration list. This is a fantasy about an 11-year-old girl who is finding it really hard to fit in. She is British Indian. Her parents don't talk to her about their past, and she's living in a mainly white place. It has British folklore, Indian mythology, and lots of magical beasts, and sounds right up my street. Second, we have The Green Kingdom by Cornelia Funke and Tammy Hartung providing botanical experience, and illustrated by Melissa Castilian. And this also made it to the consideration list of the 2025 one. Caspia is not a fan of big cities and then has to go to Brooklyn, but then discovers a bundle of letters with mysterious riddles leading to different plants. I've loved other books by Cornelia Funke, and I'm very intrigued by the plant side of things in here. And finally, we have The Grace of Wild Things, which is a book that I've owned for a while. This is by Heather Fawcett, and I was sold as Anne of Green Gables, but with magic. I think basically the link to Anne is that she is an orphan. She runs away and adopts herself, or encourages a witch to adopt her. They struck up a bargain, and then I think you see their relationship develop as Grace tries to learn magic. And this is from the 2023 shortlist. So we have Vanya and the Wild Hunt, The Green Kingdom, The Grace of Wild Things. Add a pepper to each. Which one is going to be chosen? The Cookies had a little explore, completely ignored all the veggies. And the other piggies are still hiding. Grover and Apricot are absolutely failing to find any veggies here. Come on, they're over here. Okay, we had an interruption. I had to go and deal with one of my children, and obviously in the meantime all the veggies have gone, so I've no idea what one's chosen first. Let's see if we can manage round 2. Go on, Grover. Oh, alright, here comes Apricot. Is Apricot going to do it? Come on, okay. Oh, it's Vanya. It's Vanya. Right, let's get this one for Cookie. No, too terrified. Come on, Cookie, look, veggie. She's so cheeky, she just stole Grover's. Then we've got Still Looking for Veggie. You left it, it's there.
So that was all kinds of chaos, but we got there in the end.
So there we go. My sixth book is Vanya and the Wild Hunt, and this fulfills the Coiled Cobra prompt, doing a pet pig. And now I'm going to tell you about another book that I've read off the lists.
So this book I'm not counting as one of the 17 because I didn't read it affixing it to a prompt, and I'm just enjoying picking the prompts and reading them, and I'm enjoying reading them in the order that I picked them in. You absolutely don't have to do this. You can do the Middlegrade Madness challenge however you like, but I want to follow a journey and I want to be vlogging it to you. So this is a book that I got out of the library, and it is one of the books from the Middlegrade Madness challenge. So I'm obviously going to be ticking it off when I go through how many books I've now read, but it's not going to be one of the things on my Pyramid Parallel Traveller's Trail. And that is The First Year by Matt Goodfellow. I didn't realise my library had this one. I think I'd seen Olivia talk about The Final Year and how good that was. So that definitely made me go, I really would like to get hold of this one. And I hadn't realised it was a novel in verse, which is very exciting. And then I saw in my library that they had The First Year. I thought, that's brilliant. And I was like, oh, but I need to read the first one first. I need to read The Final Year. And they had that as well. So I was delighted. And I picked that up. I was like, I'll read that one and then I'll keep hold of this one. But I finished The Final Year. I speak about it in Wrapping Up My Winter Shelf, if you want to know more about that one. And I loved it so much that I had to pick up The First Year straight away and just read that one. They go together really well. The Final Year is about our protagonist Nate's last year in year 6. And The First Year is about his first year in secondary school, which is year 7. And it's very different going from a primary school where it's very, very nurturing. Most of the people in the school know who you are. There's a lot of kind of leading you, moulding the young lives, moving you on. Secondary school, that's there in theory, but it is a lot more you've got to be fending for yourself. You have to seek out the teachers to go and get help. You have to push yourself forward. They're not chasing you to give you that support. So it feels very, very different. And I think that's captured really well in these two books. What's really lovely is Nate's family. It's not I don't know what the word is. Like, it's not a 2.4 family. 2 parents, 2 kids, that kind of thing. Nuclear family. Anyway. But it's such a strong family, like when you read about it and the love they have for each other, and it just makes me tear up all the time. I think these 2 books are fantastic. And Nate is really into, he's found that he enjoys words and writing poetry and reading books, and so all of that kind of comes out. So we meet him with his gang of friends going into secondary school, different things that are kind of happening in the home life and them sort of managing to move on from that. A slight change in dynamics in the family. But the first year picks up exactly where the final year left off. It even repeats the last kind of little chapter. So the flow of the story works really well. And what I really love is the theme of this about spreading your wings. Like, you've put down your roots, you've got a sense of who you are, and adults are kind of letting go of that responsibility and allowing the children to flourish. And there's some fantastic exploration of different adult characters in this book and how that affects children. And this is one of the things why I think it's so important to read middle grade books, because we do as adults lose that sense of childlike kind of wonder, that kind of core in your feelings. Like, we don't always want to think about the bigger picture, we don't always want to do that. Everything feels really raw and strong, and I think as adults sometimes we don't think about how our actions affect children or young people that we might have in our lives. So I think to remind ourselves of what it's like to be that age, how big everything feels, is really important. And also they do have a grasp of the bigger picture, and what's right and wrong they see more clearly than all the different kind of hazes that we see things in. And I think it's good to be reminded of all that. But yes, this book made me emotional. There's some really beautiful moments in here, and I just think the whole package of those two stories together is just amazing, and I highly recommend them. So the 7th prompt for the Middlegrade Madness Challenge, we are going to move on from Cold Cobra, and I think I'm ready to go to the Traveller's Trail. There's a portal just over here, so I'm going to go to that portal and portal out to the Traveller's Trail. So the first prompt on the Traveller's Trail is Popular Path. So for Popular Path,
the prompt is to read a book from the shortlist.
So books from the Shortlist. I could read Grace of Wild Things, which is a book that I have already said I'm quite keen to read. The 2024 shortlist. There's Skandar and the Chaos Trials, carrying on with my Skandar series read along. And from the 2025 list, there I do have a copy of All the Blue in the Sky, which I am very keen to read as well. But I am going to go for Skandar and the Chaos Trials because I am very excited to carry on the Skandar series. And I am doing a read along with some people on the Middlegrade Mad Chat. So myself, Stacey and Lucia, being very supported by Kate, are reading for May Skandar and the Chaos Trials. So I can't wait to pick that one up. Hi, it's now the end of May. And I've done a lot of reading, but I haven't really been able to do any more filming. So I still have got 2 books to talk to you about that I read in my previous episode. And I have got 2 more books to pick. So the book that I read for Sliding Slabs was Skandar and the Phantom Rider. So this is part of a series. It is part of the Skandar series. It's by A.F. Steadman and it is a fantasy. So I have been very slow on reading Skandar. I don't know why. I think I was doing that thing where, you see it everywhere, and then I think they're quite cinematic book covers. So I wasn't really sure if it was going to be the fantasy for me. But then I kept hearing really good things and really good things and really good things. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to, when it's all out, I'll get it from the library. Anyway, my Mad March Hare ended up getting the first book, absolutely loved it, raving about it, insisting that I read it. I loved the first book. So the series is all about, funnily enough, a boy called Skandar. And he is, he's got a very kind of quiet boy, doesn't quite fit in at school. It's got a very awkward family life, but a really close bond with his older sister. There's this island between the UK and the country island. And on this island, there are unicorns who are meat-eating carnivores, bit wild, difficult to train, can be a bit dangerous. And every unicorn has a destined rider, so they share a bond. And this could be someone from the island who's grown up with the unicorns and all of this, or it could be someone from the mainland, which is the UK, who is not used to it. So every child, when they're 13, they do the hatchery exam, and then if they pass that exam, it means they could be destined a unicorn, and they go to the island and see if they bond with a unicorn. And obviously Skandar has an interesting journey to get there and has an interesting time, and there's a lovely like little found family, a little bit unsure of each other at first, have to kind of work each other out. But anyway, Skandar kind of finds his tribe, but there's some prejudice, there's some other difficulties going on. I don't want to spoil it, obviously. And so the second book picks up, and he's in the next year within this unicorn academy, and there's other things happening. There's some wild unicorns that are being killed. So there's that kind of plot line happening. Also, all the kids are having to get ready for their next final exam to see if they continue at the Eyrie, which is the Unicorn Academy. And so they've got to kind of keep harnessing their powers and learning all these things. And alongside that, there's all this kind of worry that was kind of left over from the first book. And we're still growing with these characters, these children. They've got other difficulties and things to manage. I absolutely love this. I loved the first one. This kind of picked up and carried on the same vibes, same feelings as that one. I love how fully formed all the characters are and how fleshed out this world is, and how there's not always there's still some like dodgy characters kind of around. It's not very clear cut who is kind of nice and not nice. There's some kind of different political things that maybe not everyone agrees with. I find all of that absolutely fascinating, and Skandar is adorable, and I love the little found family. I do want to talk a few spoilers now, so I've got timestamps in the video, so please go to those and skip to the next section if you've not read Skandar and you intend to, because I don't know how spoilery I'm going to go, but I'm going in. So, book 2. There was a lot in book 2. Obviously, it's not now all out in the open that Skandar is a spirit wielder. And predictably, lots of people have got a huge amount of prejudice towards Skandar, and I basically want to knock all their heads together. But I do love overcoming prejudice storylines, so I can't really complain, because this is stuff that I really love. I got so angry with Bobby in this book, absolutely fuming. I wanted to shake her and get Skandar to go, like, grab her, take her out for a walk, let her yell everything she needed to, get it all out of her system, you know, what all of her issues that are going on, like that she's been reminded of, constantly being compared to her perfect sister and like really trying to be the best, and she feels like Skandar's getting in her way. Allow that validation and then say, great, understand, but you are being a terrible friend and you are out of line, because everyone is being appalling to Skandar. He doesn't feel like he fits in anywhere apart from their treehouse, and any kind of boost he's got from doing things or having good things, he's got Bobby just basically being a right arse to him, like, how dare I not be great and wonderful, and I'm constantly being Skandar's friend when I need to stand out. Like, no, Bobby, you're absolutely out of order. And I got really angry with her, almost slightly to the point that I got a little bit angry with Flo for being very much like understanding of Bobby. I mean, I could take it back. Maybe she was having tough talks with Bobby and saying, you need to give Skandar, you're being a terrible friend and you need to sort this out. But she was kind of saying to Skandar, you know, just think where Bobby's coming from. Like, no, Bobby's being a terrible friend. I love being introduced to the Peregrine Society. I absolutely would not want to be part of that whatsoever. I hate drops. I hate stunts and flies. I'd be much more like Flo, Earth wielder, keep me on the ground. I don't want to go in the sky. I love Flo's storyline about this really sinister silver circle and this kind of like secret society that seems to have a huge amount of power. And then everything that kind of came out of that, I like, honestly, heart in my mouth, just like, how it was the silver circle like causing all of this like cleansing ritual, because they're still like have all this beef with the spirit wielders, despite the spirit wielders literally having no unicorns anymore. Wow, that was a lot going on. Terrified for Kenna, because there's definitely something dodgy going on here. Who is the man with the flame eyes? I want to know. Who is this man with the flame eyes? And I just felt so bad. I just felt so bad for Kenna. And I knew reading the end of Skandar book 1, I was like, didn't tell your sister. Nothing good is going to happen from this. Nothing good. She's just going to be really mad. She's just really, really mad. And then she's going to think it's your fault when she finds out, which is exactly what happens. Don't keep secrets. Don't keep secrets. Don't do it. Even if you're protecting them, still not. I'd still want to know. If someone was trying to protect some horrible information from me, I'd still want to know that information. So don't do it, Skandar. Bad move. Bad move. And yeah, there's just a lot going on here. I'm glad the Erie's okay. I am really growing fond of Aunt Agatha. I also continue to love Professor O'Sullivan, the water wielder. I'd love to be a water wielder. That would be my favourite. I feel I'm probably more of an earth wielder, but I'd love to be a water wielder. I loved seeing more of the world, going to explore all of that a little bit more. I really love the kind of the lore of the first rider and all of that kind of mystery, and finding out more about spirit dreams and the dapple grey unicorn that's supposed to be Kenna's. And it's still out there. I'm really worried about what's going to happen to this dapple grey unicorn. My heart is breaking for this dapple grey unicorn that is still bereft from Kenna. Absolutely hate the Weaver, and what she's done to Kenna, the position she's put her in, and the two siblings. I'm worried. Don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think Kenna fully understands, because she doesn't know all the unicorn lore. Like, someone needs to sit her down and explain it all, because I don't think she gets it. Because and I don't know what the Weaver's told her. What's the Weaver told her? We don't know. Highly recommend. Completely understand the hype. I hope it continues to get more hype. It's really also quite beautifully inclusive as well. Lots of varieties of character in here, and yeah, I'm going to stop gushing now because I'm not really saying anything new.
So I'm now 4 books completed on this journey with Skandar and the Phantom Rider. Just under a quarter complete.
So I now need to pick my next book, which is going to be book number 8. And so with the Traveller's Trail, I don't really have choice. We're just following the path. So the next prompt along the path is
Slippery Stones. And here you need to read a book that is more of a challenge for you.
So a book that's more of a challenge for me. I am limiting myself to ones I can get hold of. So I'm trying not to buy new books. I've already got plenty of books that I can access from the library, and plenty of books that I do already have access to in my house. So we're going to start with those. I don't really feel I can read a fantasy for this, because that's not a challenge for me. That's kind of more of a comfort read. That's more what I would automatically want to go to. So automatically not a fantasy. So looking for books that I can access that aren't fantasy on the 2023 list doesn't give me a huge amount. So that's going to make this easier. So on the 2023 list, there is Ellie Engel saves Cross Out the World herself. That is a contemporary. I've no idea. It could be a challenge. If it's a bit more of a heavy topic contemporary, I'm not sure. That's by Leah Johnson. I have heard good things about her book, so I'm quite keen to get to that one at some point. I also have Dear Mothman, which is one that I own, that I am very excited to get to. I don't know if it's a novel in verse or not, but it is about a trans boy who's lost his best friend, who was also trans. And I think it's by writing to some sort of comic book character that he kind of deals with his grief. So that's very heavy. So that will be a challenge, definitely. 2024, all the ones that I can access are all fantasy. So nothing really on that one. 2025, again, there's a lot of fantasy. Candle Island, I can access from the library. Just personal taste wise, it's not that high on my list. There are ones I am more excited about than that one. I may still read it at some point if I'm doing pretty well, or if it fits one of the prompts. I'm not against reading it. It's just I'm not as excited as I am by other ones. So maybe that is a challenge. And then definitely a challenge is All the Blue in the Sky, because that is, again, it's a novel in verse, and again, it's got a heavy topic and it is dealing with a lot of grief. So that's a contender. Coach is a contemporary, but I'm really excited to read Coach, so that's not a challenge. I am going to go for one that I own, and I'm feeling at the moment, I am feeling Dear Mothman. because again, I have just been looking at, since it came out as one of the 2023 ones, it's one of the ones that I'd voted for, but it didn't make the shortlist, because I really want to read more books with trans characters, and I'm really keen for a trans boy story in a middle grade book. It's also a novel in verse, and I'm feeling in a good place to read something heavy, so that's what I'm going to read. So the book that I read for Labyrinth Lair, which was to read a book from the library, was Aya and the Starcatcher by Radia Hafeza. This I originally thought was a follow-on from Ramasia. I thought it was but that's actually called Ramasia Ever After. I think I just got sidetracked by the picture that's on the cover. This book is illustrated by Callie McKean. So we have got a few pictures kind of throughout, some sort of larger illustrations, others are more kind of decorating the pages. This is a very short book, so it's quite easy to kind of read through. This is described as a classic fairy tale with Bengali folklore. So I do really enjoy that aspect of it. I thought the setting and some characters that we got to see and some ideas we got to see explored in here were really fun. I was very intrigued by the star powers and kind of seeing what happens to Aya. I thought all of that was really interesting and fun. For my personal taste, I didn't feel, considering how short a book it is, that this story kind of got going quickly enough. But other people may think differently to that. This is a story that very much kind of centres on family. There is a mother-daughter relationship in here. And there's definitely some kind of mystery because she's not always forthcoming and she's very overprotective of her child. We don't know what happened to the father. She doesn't talk about him. And you kind of see how Aya and her mother talk to each other and kind of go through this adventure together. I personally found it more exciting when Aya was trying to do things herself. I think that's the type of middle grade I like. I like it when children take the centre stage, when they have the agency and they're off going on adventures themselves. And I'm also going to be almost hypocritical here because I also struggle when you've got incompetent adults that put children in these situations. So it's having this balance between children having a certain recklessness and rebelliousness to go off on these ventures without being stupid and thoughtless. And also having adults that are doing good parenting, are doing good protection and caring. And so you're not feeling really frustrated about the adults, just like lack of awareness or lack of good judgment. It's a really tricky balance to hit, I think, within middle grade. The interaction between the parent and child and kind of exploring, you know, wanting to protect someone, but also needing to give them a little bit more trust and responsibility within that so they don't feel suffocated, I thought was done really well. But I did feel I wanted more of a portion kind of exploring things and for Aya to have a bit more agency. I thought it was very realistic, her worry and concern, but I wanted her to have a little bit more attempt to kind of try things. So it didn't completely work for me in that respect, but I thought the world building was really fun. I thought the atmosphere and sense of place was really well done. I enjoyed there's a doll's house that she has, which is a replica of the palace. I enjoyed kind of bits and pieces to do with that. It was a quick read. I got through it very easily. Not my favourite middle grade, but well written, good plot, good characters. It just didn't kind of hit my taste level.
So I have now completed Labyrinth Lair with Aya and the Starchaser, bringing it to 5 books.
So now picking the final book for this video. So book number 9 is continuing along the Traveller's Trail. We get to the next prompt.
Quarry Quest. Read a book that entered as a hidden gem.
So 2023, I have read 3 of the 5 hidden gems. They're all the ones I can get hold of. So I've read Jamie, I've read Saving Neverland, and I've read Hammer in the Jungle of Memories. I can't access the Witchstone Ghosts. I'm shocked my library doesn't have it. I don't understand why it doesn't have it, but I can't access it. And I can't access The Girl from Earthland either. And I'm really keen for that one. I think that one sounds brilliant. So not these. 2024, there are a lot more choice because we did it differently. So I can access both the Chronicles of Weather Why, both from the library and also from my mum Nata, because she has that book, and I know this would make Stacey very happy. I can also access Momo Ashima Breaks the Mirror of the Sun because the library has that one. However, I haven't read the first book. My Mad March Hare has got the first book, so I need to read that first before I get to that one. And the same with the Sea Witch. I need to read Hedge Witch, and there's another one. So there's 2 more books before I could get to that one. So I can't read Sea Witch either, but I can get them all from the library, so I have a bit of reading to do. 2025. There is, there's a few books on here that I'm very interested in, and I would want to own them eventually because I think I'm really going to love them. But I think the one that's calling to me, I know what I'm going to read because this one's calling to me. So yeah, I'm going to read Coach by Jason Reynolds. I entered it as a hidden gem because did I do it? Or was it Lucia? I think both of us spoke about it. I can't remember. I think Lucia entered it actually. I voted for it. I voted for Coach. Didn't make it onto the shortlist. But I'm so excited for this book by Jason Reynolds. I have loved the track series, first book being Ghost. It's about this running club, and it goes through each of the 4 different children. They've got different things going on in their lives, and this is about their coach. So we've heard Coach has got a little bit of an interesting backstory, had a little bit of a difficult family life like everyone else, and I want to hear about his story. And I love Jason Reynolds' writing. It's really heartfelt. You really get a great sense of the characters, so I'm really excited for this one. This book belongs to my Mad March Hare. He's the one that's collecting this series. I don't think you'll mind if I read it first. Well, I'll give him a deadline. So I have got my next set of books ready to carry on with this challenge. So we have Vanya and the Wild Hunt by Sangu Mangdana. So this was from the 2025 list, and this was Coiled Cobra. This is what the piggies eventually chose for me. Got this out of the library, one because I knew it was on the list. I know it's ones that I'm really excited to read, and also our protagonist Vanya has got ADHD, and I really want to read more books with neurodivergent protagonists, and I'm reading this as part of the Spoonies readathon. Then we have the next book in the Skandar series. This is Skandar and the Chaos Trials by A.F. Stedman. And obviously I'm really hyped about the Skandar series and having a brilliant time reading it. So great to carry on. Here we have Dear Mothman by Robin Gow. So as I thought, it's got a cute little bookmark in that I hadn't seen before. Oh look, what's under the dust jacket. I'm presuming this is Mothman. And it is, yes, it is novel in verse, and it's a mixture of letters. Letters, Dear Mothman, writing to Mothman, as well as sort of diary entries and what he's missing. So this is going to be, I really love the cover as well. The illustration is beautiful. Who did the artwork? Tracy J. Lee. Designed by Dina Mika Fleming. So really enjoyed Tracy J. Lee's art. I think it's this lovely kind of half blurred painted style, and we have got our protagonist at the bottom writing to Mothman. There's kind of these sort of like long grasses, and then we've got Mothman sort of glowing light above the top. That's really pretty. And then we have Coach. So the UK covers of this have all the different athletes, and you can kind of put them in a line and they go round the track. The US ones have got the all the different characters kind of jumping over the title. I enjoyed both covers. I think they're really cool. So very keen to pick up Coach by Jason Reynolds and read that one.
So at the end of episode 2, this is what my Middlegrade Madness challenge stats are looking like. From the 2025 list, prior to starting, I had read 6 books, and now this brings it up to a total of 8 books read. On the 2024 list, I had previously read 8 books, and now that total has increased to 9. From the 2023 list prior to starting, I had read 6 books, and now I have read 9 books. So I'm very happy with how this is all going. After the end of episode 3, I might do a tier ranking to see where I sit with everything. Let me know if that's something that you would find interesting.
Thank you. So in the next video, you will hear me talking about all of these books, and I will be picking the next 4 prompts. So that's going to be the last 2 Traveller's Trail books, and then I'll be back into the Pyramid Peril, and we will be amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what your favourite middle grade books are. They could be from the Middle Grade Readers' Choice Awards, or it could just be any middle grade book. I'd love to hear some of your recommendations. And do let me know if you are partaking in the Middle Grade Madness Challenge. I'd love to hear about that. Happy reading, everyone.